How to Find a Mentor, Part 2. If you haven't seen the previous part, definitely check it out. We talked more there about what is mentoring, coaching, and other definitions, why to mentor, what are the two things that drive personal growth, and what are the three type of people that everyone should have in their life. Today we will talk about the practical side of finding a mentor, where to look for. We're going to talk about things and places which we haven't thought of likely, or most people haven't thought of finding a mentor, maybe because it's too obvious, maybe because it's not obvious enough, they haven't known about it, or maybe they haven't thought about it in this way. Then after that we're going to talk about the things to look out for, both positive things to look out for and both kind of red flags to look out for, and really how to approach a mentor. What is the mindset? We're going to step into the shoe of the mentor, and we're going to really understand if and when we want to reach out to a mentor, how to do it. We're going to also understand much more like what makes a good mentoring, and just in general at the end of this part 1 and part 2, our goal is that you have a thorough understanding and you know how to reach out to a mentor and what mentor to reach out to. So we're gonna do the same type of slideshow / whiteboard session, and without any further ado, let's jump onto it. How to Find a Mentor, part 2. Here we invite our good friend Bruce Lee. Oh yeah. And he said, knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. And I really want to emphasize this on this part 2, because knowledge is very important. But when you searching for the 20% that makes the 80% of difference, it's really application. Many of us know what to do when we want to lose weight. That's not where most of us fails. Where most of us fails is the application. Again, of course, there are places where knowledge makes 180 difference, and without knowledge, without skill, without knowledge, you not able to progress. But in this context, the 20% where 80% of the results come from, or in other way of saying that, where you can make the biggest difference, is application, is doing. And you will understand as we go along more in depth how this applies. All right. So, as I mentioned before, we talked about the one thing, like what the difference that 1 degree of change can make. We talked about the two things, the only two things that drive change. We talked about the three things, the three type of people you want to have in your life. And what we talk about now are the 4 things, the 4 places where you can find mentors. Now, these 4 places will also mean different type of mentors, different type of mentoring relationship. So now we're looking for a mentor. What I put here level. Don't be caught up in the level. There is some meaning behind it, but it's not always levels like this. It's just a model that's going to help you and help us to understand the whole system and thinking behind it. All right. So we have recorded media as one type of mentoring where you can get mentorship. We have peer groups. You can upgrade your circle, and you can have something what I call here high-end mentoring relationship. The reason I put levels here, and the reason the difference really here is the commitment. And what we talked before, our good friend Bruce Lee said to us here, and at the end, by the way, I will show you something relating to that Bruce Lee thing. It's pretty cool. So what our friend Bruce Lee said here is the doing, the application. And what we talked about in the previous part is that the only two things that drive change are knowledge or awareness. You have to know what to do, and commitment. You have to actually do it. So what changes is, as we go up in these levels, the level of commitment likely gonna change. Not always, because this is not just the only factor that that changes or that levels up the commitment, but moving up in these medias usually upgrades the commitment as well. For example, recorded media, books, you can, and also videos, you can get sort of a mentoring, inspiration, you can get ideas, you can get advice, you can get a lot of things. It's an easy commitment with all the good and bad in it. The thing is that through recorded media, you can reach out to wide mentors, and it's easy. But how many people, including myself, have a bookshelf full of books which they rarely implement? This is the nature of recorded media. That doesn't mean that you couldn't take a recorded media very seriously, take one book and take one idea out of it and implement it. This is just because people don't put enough skin in the game, usually not or doesn't happen. And that's why on the level 4th, in contrast, the high-end relationship, things like one-on-one and group coaching programs are much more transformative. They less easy to entry, and we will talk about later on why is that. And because of that, the skin in the game is higher, commitment is higher, and application is higher, and transformation is higher. So you understand, that's why I put them in levels, so you can understand how these usually upgrade the commitment. As you're gonna see and you're gonna find, it's not a all exclusive, or it's not a black and white rule, but it's very useful to understand. Now we're gonna go through one by one recorded media. Recorded media like video, like this. In a way, I'm your mentor right now, and if you want an easy way to get mentored by me, just watch these videos. So videos, YouTube, and one reason why I personally do YouTube, because I learned so much and I had so many mentors through YouTube. And always when I had, or where I got a lot of help from, naturally I want to give back. And because it helped me so much, I want to give back, and because of that, I'm doing this YouTube channel. Now, you can also learn from other recorded media. You can learn, and you can also download, in a way, the way of thinking and being of the person you admire, your role model, from books, audiobooks, podcasts, articles. You get the awareness, you get the knowledge, at least some level of it, through these media. Let me see. So you see recorded media, books. And one of the great thing in recorded media, it's an easy access to mentors who you would otherwise couldn't access or wouldn't have access to. And here the easy is both a pro and a con, but let's look at it from a pro. Now you can access mentors from all around the world, but also all around the time, and also all around the financial spectrum. So things like free videos, books are also a way cheaper, condensed way of the mentors distilling their knowledge and passing it on, audiobooks, podcasts. So those are, I like to think about them as like, Back to the Future, Doc and Marty McFly. They traveled into the future and into the past. They were able to go in places where people otherwise couldn't go to. They traveled through time and space. Now, they just traveled through time, but what I want you to understand here is that you can travel through time through books. For example, you can read about Roman emperors and wise Eastern philosophers, and you can read the thoughts and ideas of many people from the past. You can also learn from people who you couldn't get to otherwise, both spatially, both financially. So recorded media, especially in this day and age, is an excellent way to get easy access to mentoring. And if you struggle with the financials at where you are at right now, or if you are not in the same space, or you or the mentor passed away, you can sort of commune with the death. If you understand what I mean, you can talk to this person through the books, and books, videos have been great inspiration to me as well. So this is the first level, the recorded media, but also, of course, there is no commitment, and also there is no one-to-one feedback. There is no hands-on mentoring or hands-on coaching. Whenever I say mentoring, I mean coaching as well. All right, level 2 is the peer group. Family, friends, teachers, peers, interest group. Oops, I had a spelling mistakes there. Sorry, let me correct that. Sorry, I couldn't leave out this pun. This is my horrible sense of humor. The level 2 is the peer group. Family, friends, teacher, peers, and interest groups. These are people which we don't appreciate enough. And in another video, I talked about my brother and how he was a mentor to me in my early life. And really what you're looking for, what you only need, is someone who is one step ahead of you. This is another place where people might not appreciate enough what's available for them. You don't always need, there are different type of mentors. There are mentors who've been there and 10 years ahead of you, and those mentors are really useful, and those mentors are different type of mentors. But there are another type of mentors who I call experts, and we talked in the part 1 about this, who are 1 or 2 steps ahead of you. And also it's really helpful if you want to be a mentor to someone, you need to know that you only need to have 1 or 2 steps ahead of someone to able to show that person what's the next step. Again, the two type of mentors are different, because if someone 10 years ahead of you, of course that person has way bigger bag of knowledge and experience to tap into. You cannot compare. But also it's a different perspective if you know that you only need someone who is 1 step ahead of you. Now again, my brother and I, the Spider-Man, that's me. The Batman is my brother. And I can thank my brother to become an artist and many things, I guess, that's similar to many siblings, that I looked up to him and I learned so much. Sometimes just appreciating those people, the friends, the teachers. Sometimes maybe a teacher said something, like one thing to you that really stuck with you and really shape the way you are. We talked about in the previous part what 1 degree of change can make in someone's life, maybe one sentence from someone. So just appreciating that. The other thing is, to me personally, and I can really recommend it, when we talk about peer groups, interest groups, groups who share the same interest and going to the same direction you going, likely if you join a group like this, you will find someone who is one step ahead of you in something, and you're likely gonna find a dozen or a few dozens of someones who are one step ahead of you. You put that together, there are several bunch of steps. So here you go, a lot of mentoring you can get. Now again, this is not the same mentoring as having a high-end mentoring relationship, but to me, when I personally joined Meetup, it was a huge revelation. And the reason I'm talking about this, because it helped me a lot. But there are other sites, Eventbrite, and you can just maybe Facebook, you can find peer groups in many places. Remember, you only need someone who is one step ahead of you. Now, the next level is when you actually create your circle, your new circle, or you upgrade your social circle. And this is something I've done several times. Now, this is the bubble you think you have. These are the people you usually around. They say you are the average of the 5 people you've spent more time with. Here are the 5 people. But you can think about, these are the people who you think you know, who you think you have access to. But actually, you have access to way more, because these people know these people who know these people. And for example, like these people know these people, these people, these people. So you have an access of much higher circle, or much wider circle than you would think. And in my case, this is, for example, where Meetup comes in. I remember I had this this genuine desire to go to a group where there are like-minded people and I can express the things I'm interested in. So I joined a group, a self-development group on Meetup, and it was a really great group. It was sort of like a group coaching type of thing. They introduced self-development ideas to us, and I found it really inspiring. So much that right after that I got inspired and I started my own, called Empowering Mastermind, and I did that for 1.5 or 2 years, something like that. It was basically a group coaching. If you read Think to Grow Rich, the author talks about the mastermind, and with one of my friends, we got inspired by this book when we read it, and because of that I thought, I'm gonna start my own mastermind group, and that was that. Now, the way I upgraded my social circle is that I looked for people who I admire, people who I would like to be in a couple of years down the line, or people who embody a quality, embody something that I feel is authentic to me and where I want to go. And simply what I did, I did a little bit of research of who they are, what they are interested in, and so on. And I reached out to them. I wrote an SMS, I wrote a message. Look, I really admire what you do. I talked a little bit about myself, but mostly about them, and like what this whole thing means. It was inspiration, and I was on a streak because I was really inspired about this whole thing. And I asked, would you like to grab a cup of coffee? I didn't say I want to pick their brain. I didn't say I want anything from them. I just genuinely wanted to contact them. And they were happy. And I asked about their story. People like to talk about their story. I asked about them. We made a connection. And I made friends who I still friends with. And that was part of upgrading my social circle. The other part of upgrading my social circle is something to do with drummers. Let me explain. So there will be a story, or there is a story. I heard this and it stuck with me. The guy said that he was really interested in learning percussion, like drumming, percussion. And he started, but of course he was a beginner. He wasn't really good at it. He went to a class, and there were two type of classes. There were a beginner and an advanced class. Now there was a choice he could make to go with the beginner drummers and start there as everyone starts. But he was cheeky and he made a different choice. He went to the advanced group. He was still bad. He was a beginner. But he stuck with it. He said, like, I'm going to stuck with the good drummers. And because he was bad and the others, kind of, how would I say, like they didn't chuck this guy out. They let him stay there, but because he wasn't that good, they started to teach him. And he improved really, really fast, way faster than people in the beginner group. And also what we should consider is that this person were able to model the advanced drummers. This person didn't got to or had to look at and stay with the beginner drummers. This person could learn from and watch and assimilate and use the mirror neurons to learn how the advanced drummers act and behave and do things. So here is really sit with the advanced drummers. All you need is just to reach out. So what I did is I sat with the advanced drummers. I created my own meetup group. I started to play in the same field that those people played in who I admired. I started to do my own group coaching sessions. I started to create interviews. I started to invite these people. I started to become the linchpin, the facilitator, the hub, the connector, where all of these people come together to, and therefore they accepted and seeked out my presence. And these are friendships. Their friendships I still have to this day. Now, of course, some of them stronger, some of them, more acquaintance. When we see each other on the street, we say hi and so on. Some of them are more close. But remember that sit with the advanced drummers, and all you really need is just to reach out. Okay? This is another unlikely place, especially because people don't consider how big of a circle they really have access to. And we arrive to the fourth level, which is the high-end relationship. These are the paid programs. Oh, let me go back. Let me go back for a minute because I want to tell something. This I want to rewrite. So these are again upgrading your social circle, and also things like being an intern, having an internship somewhere. That's a way of sitting with the advanced drummer. So for example, if you a big Gary Vaynerchuk fan, you might dream about getting an internship. And he says that he got a few people like that who willing to put months of hard work and really put themselves there to be an intern for them, with the hope that if they really show up, then Gary will accept them and pay them as permanent members. And through just being around the good drummer, they get mentored by them. Now, what you cannot do here is to say, look, I work for you, but you have to mentor me. Like, that just goes against the whole dynamics of this, but we're gonna talk about that. But upgrading your social circle, creating your circle, stepping into circles, internship, for example, is a great way to upgrade your social circle. The fourth level is high-end relationship, paid programs, group coaching, one-on-one mentorship, and so on. These are any kind of relationship where there is a big commitment in it, big skin in the game. As I mentioned it in the part one, this is where the disciple had to spend days out of the, or in front of the door at the monastery before the master considers letting the disciple in. There has to be a test, there has to be a skin in the game, there has to be some sort of difficulty in order for the disciple to develop, showcase his or her commitment. Who needs this is not as much the master but the disciple, and by that the master needs it. Without commitment, no one gonna benefit from mentoring or coaching. Going back to this, one of the example I find really inspiring is, it's basically the same type of story is the Doctor Strange, and I try to find something that's quite temporary and you can watch the movie and have a feel for it. So here what's happening, there are actually not one but more steps. First, there is the mentor who shows something to the disciple, to the mentee, to the student, something that the student is ignorant to. Here comes the awareness, something that the student hasn't been aware to. The mentor makes him or her aware of that, gives a bite from the knowledge, a taste of the knowledge. And of course, here Doctor Strange, his cross, his difficulty is his own ignorance, and he not open to anything. And then the master pushes him through different dimensions, shows the depth of the rabbit hole, and after that Doctor Strange says, "Teach me." He suddenly becomes ready, but he's not really ready, and the master knows it, and she casts Doctor Strange out of the monastery, and Doctor Strange spends 5 days outside waiting without food. And it's not really explained because they wanted to roll the story forward. It's just mentioned that, he spent 5 days outside of the monastery, and how relentless he is. He stood the test, he proved himself, and they let him in. The teaching begins, and really the second struggle that Doctor Strange has is the other side of his pride, which is his doubt, his misbelief that it's just not possible for him to learn magic. And the second test, when the master brings him out to the Himalaya and just leaves him there in just a really light clothing, and he has to figure out this teleportation magic, otherwise he would just die. And the master knows, like, this is actually where Doctor Strange could die, but the master believes. You see, the master always lights forward this bigger opportunity of this is who you could be, something, a new awareness that the disciple, the student, doesn't have yet. Shows that, just shows a glimpse of what's possible, something that the student didn't believe possible. And then the student has to stand the test, has to leap through the difficulty, which often some sort of breakdown, something that the student is, something that the student holds as a belief, stands between where he or she is and where he or she wants to be. So stands between that, and the student has to die, in metaphorically die, as he or she was, and have to let go and kind of give in and adopt this new way of being, which is, in the case of Doctor Strange, he had to let go his arrogance and ignorance and doubt and become open and believe in that things are possible and that he doesn't know everything. So, and then of course at the end, the hero's journey, he becomes the magician. So here are sentences people naturally push against change. There has to be skin in the game in order for us to become something that we hasn't been, in order for us to become more we used to be. Let's say this, okay? So there has to be skin in the game in order for us to become more or something new than what we used to be or who we used to be. Now here's something that, for example, that's why I say here paid program. Now the truth is that in today's day and age, there is nothing more that commits people than money. Usually, not always, but usually. And that's exactly my example here, is that in weight loss, for example, to talk something personal, but I see this is a very common thing, and that's why it's a good example that for me, I knew what to do to lose weight, but I did all sort of things and didn't stuck with it and didn't do the right things, and because I doubted myself every second week, and I changed my program every second week, and then stopped, then started and stopped, because I didn't have the commitment. I had the knowledge, I didn't have the commitment. So I hired a personal trainer, I hired a coach, and because of that, now I had the commitment, because I put skin in the game. I put a financial commitment there, and therefore I showed up every single day. I did what I said I need to do. I became a number one student, and the results came. That's not to say that you can't achieve something on your own. It's just, if we don't want to delude ourselves, then delude ourselves, we have to be honest and say, okay, sometimes, you know what, I do need the commitment, which is often financial. That's not the only way, again, but very often financial. And that's why paid programs, group coaching, one-on-one mentoring is great. So you're going to need to have some sort of financial, not the only one, but the most likely some sort of commitment in this high-end relationship. Also, the other characteristic of the high-end relationship is that it's long-term. You have long-term feedback. So I'm not talking here about a 4 weeks or a 6 weeks. Maybe a 6 week can be somewhat part of this group. It depends. I had really amazing 6 weeks group coaching. That's actually can be a quite good container if it's practical. But sometimes it's half year, a year, maybe many years. And in that time frame, imagine what sort of change you can make. Again, referring back to what 1 degree change can make. If you do the 1 degree over and over for a couple of years, you will be a completely different person and the change will be huge. Now, the next one is something, we move on to the 4 places. We talked about the 4 places where you can find mentor, the recorded media, the peer group, the upgrading your circle, the high-end mentoring relationship. Now, we talk about the how. When we talk about the how, what's really important to understand first is to step into the shoe of the mentor. And the reason this is important because if you want to approach a mentor well, you have to understand the way they think and the position they are in. First of all, first point is that understand they usually don't mind sharing. And the reason they don't mind sharing, because whatever they do, they put a lot of effort into it and they likely love to do it. They likely had their own mentor. Because of that, they like to pass it on. Also, one way they learn is that they teach. So they don't mind sharing. It's not like you have to feel bad because you asking. They actually love to share what they have and what they know, at least the good ones. Now, so that's helpful when you're reaching out. The second thing what you should know when you're reaching out is that they are on demand. Therefore, you cannot go to them and ask for something because everyone wants something from them because they are higher profile. Likely, the higher profile they are, the more people go to them wanting something from them. Therefore, you cannot go there and say, I want to pick your brain. You have to provide value. You have to go there and give something first and not necessarily expecting mentoring, but go there, give something, and when you genuinely give, they love sharing, they don't mind sharing. There is the place then to ask. Okay. Also know that action takers are rare. Again, we talked about this up until this point. You have to be an action taker. Many people go to a mentor from a needy place, that they looking for a fix and they want to take something and they're not action takers. The best way you can show you are an action taker, once you asked for an advice and you got an advice, you go back to them and you tell them how you implemented. So if you manage to ask a question and if you manage to get an answer, start with one specific question. Be really specific when you're asking for an advice. That's a showcase that you are an implementer. That's a way to showcase that you are in the arena, you are in the game, and you're not just looking for a fix, you're looking for a genuine advice. Once you get the advice, go away, implement, go back to them, show that you can implement it, and maybe ask again. One rule gonna be is to be respectful, but be relentless. Again, you show that you have that commitment, what we talked about with Dr. Strange. Now, a couple of things to look out for, kind of like a good and a bad side. What to look out for, what is a yes for a mentor, a coach, is that they embody what you want to embody. they are where you want to be. They've been there. They embody the quality. You resonate with them. You resonate with their teaching style, with who they are, with their values. Sometimes jealousy can be a good indicator, and the great way you can reframe jealousy is that you can turn into gratitude. That, wow, it's so amazing that this person shows me this quality, and by just this person showing me this quality, I can be better. How grateful I am. There is no jealousy anymore. So sometimes jealousy can be a good indicator if you have nothing else. So someone who really embodies what you want to have. When you envy someone's place or quality, but that's a lower kind of expression, but that's absolutely fine. Sometimes that's a good starting point. But someone who embodies where you want to be, and someone who you resonate with, who you're drawn to. Another good thing to look out for is that they are in the arena. They do the work. If they teach public speaking, they public speak. If they teach business, they do business. If they teach communication or coaching, they do communication or coaching. Also, that they are credible. Now, two parts. One is that they talk about their struggle as well. They are human, they are vulnerable. That's personally something that I also look out for. The other thing, that they can deliver results. Whenever you're looking for a mentor or coach, second check, triple check, look for feedback, always look for testimonials, not just on their site, but in other places as well. Check the credibility of the testimonials. You also want someone who focuses on their client and on others, not just on themselves. How generous they are. Generosity is also a good indicator, because people who are generous, they have a good mentality, and likely with that, other good qualities will come too. Now, red flags, things to look out for, things to run away from. When you are just looking for a quick fix, we talked about this before, then it's probably not what mentoring, it's not that mentoring you need first. You need to look at this neediness first. But sometimes a good mentor can help you through that as well. Now, big red flag, toxic relationship. When a mentor wants you to be dependent on him or her, or abusive, doesn't respect doesn't respect your boundaries. We've seen spiritual teachers who were predators, and we've seen on YouTube and on the internet people who prey on others, and it's really important to look out for those. And what you need to really be honest about is your own groundedness and your own sense of connection with reality, and your own boundaries, respecting yourself and not being caught up with these things. And we talk about like con artists, people who are smoke and mirrors, who doesn't do the work, doesn't show the results, who all image and no practice cults, who are gatekeepers, have their one solution, and don't want you to think for yourself. That's never a good sign. Always question things, and go to mentors who actually encourage you asking more questions, and not trying to shut you down in asking questions. Often it's so easy to get caught up in a charismatic personality, because we're naturally drawn to follow people with charisma, people with strong opinions. That's just in most of our nature, and that's something to look out for. Again, same thing, get rich quick. Now, once you you achieve a few things, you realize that anything worthwhile takes a gradual improvement and steps. Anything get rich quick almost always doesn't work, and the red flag. All right, so these are the yes and no's, things to look out for. And again, how we already talked about a lot of things. First, just don't wait, just start. So if you want to start your own new venture, or you want to do something but you find yourself using a mentor or a coach as an excuse, then it's just procrastination. Don't wait, just start. It's much more likely that you're gonna find people helping you, like Dorothy found the companions on the way. Once she started on the way, you're gonna find your companions who gonna be your plus, minus, and equals. Again, part 1. Also, don't just take, give value first. We talked about this, that they are on demand, and also you want to nurture a generous mindset. Show you are an action taker, again, the test, and be respecting but relentless. Again, show that you keep with it. Remember the Doctor Strange analogy. All right, this was the whole. First of all, let's exhale. This was huge, this was long, and I do appreciate. And well, thank you for sticking around, and you're welcome. I hope that you found it useful. If you haven't seen, again, check out the part 1, and this was the part 2. Before we wrap up, the Easter egg that I promised you. Hope I can show you. Let's just go back for a minute to the very beginning. This is gonna give a good frame. Oh, whoa. Yeah. Knowing is not enough, we must apply. Willing is not enough, we must do. Now, if you see this guy here, this statue, there is a different quote there. This is a quote that when I actually made this, I sculpted in 3D digitally this sculpture. I was really inspired by this quote, which is, "To hell with circumstances, I create opportunities." To hell with circumstances, I create opportunities. So whatever you have in life, hell with that. Create your own opportunities. And I hope that you can see it. I'm not quite sure. Oh, yeah. The dragon closes into the stone, goes up to the sky, and there is Bruce Lee. So this is 3D printable. If you're interested, ask in the comment section and I can link it in. It can be printed from different materials. Again, you're welcome. And again, be generous, practice generosity. If you got any value out of this, share it with others and give me something, give me a like and subscribe, because I'm thinking on a way also to give something extra to people who subscribe. Let's catch up on later on that. Hit the bell notification so you will be notified of the future videos. Let's grow together, and remember, you are innately whole. See you in the next video.